I am going to get started, and it'll take a minute as I'm schlepping my computer around about my kitchen. So I'm Celeste, and I'm a homesteader in Montana, and I uh, have been making bread since maybe I was 10 years old. And so I make it every Friday. And right now I am on a ketogenic diet. So I make my organic bread for my chickens, but I'm keeping my skills current because as the temperature plummets on planet Earth, as it becomes what is known as snowball Earth, we are going to need substantially more calories than we're getting now. So I would really encourage you that whatever diet, if you're on the carnivore diet, paleo diet, ketogenic diet, something that does not have a lot of calories and carbs, that you do be mindful of this, that you put that you prepare carbohydrates. You are in a disaster situation, especially if it's a cold disaster situation, you are going to need 6,000 calories per day per person. So that means carbs. And we'll be working a lot because to maintain this lifestyle, you need to be very active, which is one reason that I have my 1880 primitive farm and I do everything by hand. Like I make my food by hand. I don't have many modern conveniences. And it wasn't until November, thanks to your kindness, that I even had a dryer. I did have a washer, and then I would just hang my clothes to dry. And pretty much in the summer, I'll do that again. But I'll tell you what, it's been a real blessing to have a dryer. So anyway, what we're going to do is I've got all of my supplies out right now, and I'll show you that. Welcome to my kitchen. And what we're going to do is do the first part, and then it takes 2 hours for our bread to rise. And so I'm going to take a break because there's something that I have to, a program I have to do on global governance and the COVID-19 while we're waiting for our bread to rise. So what we'll do is just take like a 2-hour break or maybe a 1-hour break. And then if you have questions, we can get back together early, after an hour. And by then I'll have my program done, and we can focus on getting back to our bread. It takes about, depending on the bread that you make, you can do it in about 4 to 5 hours. And what I usually do is, it's not constant. There's a lot of babysitting. So you can be doing other things. So this is typically my house cleaning day. And so, I set my bread to, I'll show you where I set the bread, you'll see the timing. And I can like go do chicken chores, or I have enough time to vacuum, or I have enough time to dust, or whatever. So you don't have to just be sitting there twiddling your thumbs. You can check your emails. You can do whatever you like to do. But it is time consuming. But it takes a long period of time, but it's not hard work, and you just have to be there. You could even, let's say, run to the store as long as you knew that you were going to come back, because at certain stages, it's not good to leave your bread unattended, but for the most part, it's safe. If you have questions, feel free to ask questions, and as we go, I won't be able to pay attention to the chat, and I told Doug he didn't have to just sit here. So what you need to do is unmute yourself, which is in the upper right-hand corner by your picture, if you have a question. Otherwise, if you're not going to be speaking, mute, because then there's not very much background noise and everybody can enjoy the audio and the video. So right now, what I've got going here, and I'll see if I can, I've got my water and it's preheated. And as you can see, I'll see if I can get back here. I have this fluted canner. It's not really a canner, but it's that speckled enamelware, and I really love it. And this is what it looks like inside, and I use it for all sorts of things like processing my salsa, making tomato soup, and I use it for my bread. And then over here, let's see if I can get this here. I've got all my stuff here. I think I liked, let's see if I bring this. This is so much fun. Let's see if I can get this over here, and if I have a good table space so that you can see me. There's kind of a back. I don't like that back shadow. Maybe if I put it here, will that be better? And then give me the table space. Well, you're either going to see me or you're going to see the table, it looks like. Let's see here. So I'll try and peek in. So, today what we're going to make is challah. It's a traditional Sabbath bread, and it is a white bread. I use unbleached organic flour, but you can make whatever kind of bread that you like. The sky's the limit. I love the artisan breads, and we're going to have fun with this too. And you can make whatever size of batch you need. Like I make 4 loaves at a time once a week. But it freezes well, so you can make it and freeze it. Although frozen bread, you know, you don't have the aroma. As David would always say, it's fresh, it's best fresh out of the oven. So he would always cut a slice with nice, lather it with butter and maybe some jam. So what I've got in my bowl is 6 cups of white unbleached flour. Now, if you wanted to make this with whole wheat, but you still wanted it to be fluffy, I would mix 3 cups of whole wheat and 3 cups of the unbleached, and then you're going to have the loft. If you use just whole wheat, you are going to have a dense, heavy bread. And, you know, it just depends on what you prefer and what your family prefers. So that's just one tip. So we have our flour. And just for ease, I just am going to use organic sugar. Most of the time I use honey, but honey's kind of messy, and I just wanted it clean so that you guys could get an idea. So I'm not going to use all of this sugar. I use about 1/4 of a cup plus 1 teaspoon. So this is organic sugar. And of course, I've got yeast, and I do buy in bulk, and I guess yeast is getting kind of hard to find now, but you can use whatever kind of yeast. Let's say you have some wine yeast, but you ran out of this kind of yeast, you can use that, although that's a pricey way to go because those wine yeasts are specialized cultures. But the best way, if you buy yeast ahead of time, is to keep it in your fridge. And if you have an unopened package, you can keep it in your freezer, and that's going to keep your yeast good for a long time. I mean, like 5 years. There has been a problem with the viability of yeast, and maybe in a short program, we will talk about wild yeast and making your own like sourdough starters and Amish friendship bread starters. So you actually, in a grade down situation, would not need yeast at all. It's very easy. It only takes a week to make your own starter, and you can make everything from pancakes to bread, to everything. Yes, you could use grapes, but you don't even need to. All it takes is some water and flour. And like I said, I'll do a short video this week on how to do that. It only takes a minute. I actually just looked it up because it's been so long since I've done it for a friend on the phone. So we've got our yeast. Then my sister gave me this cute little chicken storage. And so I just picked fresh eggs from the nests this morning from my remaining chickens. So it takes 2 eggs. Now the eggs are not necessary, but I like it. It makes a richer loaf. But if, let's say, you don't have any eggs, then it's okay. It's not going to mess up your recipe. You might have to add a tad bit more water if you don't have the eggs, because the eggs are kind of watery. So olive oil, we'll use this a couple times. We will put a 1/4 cup of olive oil in our mixture. And we'll also grease the bowl. You always want to use either ceramic or plastic bowls. You do not want to use metal at any step of the process. And don't ask me why. That's just the way that I was taught, that it interferes with the fermentation, which is what we're doing. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is go over here to my sink, and I have really hot water in my tank, but so this works for me. But if you might not have the hot water that you need, it needs to be precisely at 100 degrees. It can be 95, but not more than 102. And you want 1.5 cups. Now, once you get the hang of it, you can do the finger dip test, so you don't need a thermometer, but a metal thermometer is nice. I know that they make, many people have the glass candy ones. The problem with those is they break. And if you're in a grid down situation and you can't get another thermometer, it's nice to have something that's sturdy, although mine's dropped on the floor a few times and I've had to replace it. So this is telling me right now, you have to let it wait about 10 seconds to get the accurate temperature. So this is telling me that it's 100 degrees. So it's just perfect. So I'll take this over, then I'll bring you over. I'm sorry, I don't want to make anybody dizzy, but okay, let's see here. So now I'm going to use a tablespoon of my yeast. And it's best if it's not clumpy, if you declump it before. So here's my tablespoon of yeast, and I'm going to put it in a small bowl. It needs to be, the bowl needs to be big enough that when it rises, it's not going to spill over all over your counter. Then you want to take 1 teaspoon of your sugar, and let's say you were going to use honey in your recipe. I would still use the sugar, 1 teaspoon of sugar at this stage. This is to get your yeast to rise. Like I said, all instruments need to not be metal. So now I'm going to put, hope you can see that. I'm going to put and then I'm going to stir it up. Oops, I just spilled. That's great. It's easier with a plastic spatula than it is a wooden spoon, but this is the first thing that came up, so this is what I've got. Now, it really helps to have a timer, so I'm going to go get my timer. You have to watch these little egg timers because sometimes they get stuck. And you want basically 10 minutes. And so we're just going to let this sit here for 10 minutes, but we're not going to be sitting around and waiting. So what we're going to do next is, while our yeast is rising, I'm going to, I'll put this over here and I'll put this over here so you can see. So I'm going to put my sugar in with my flour. Oops, where's my salt? I forgot. We need salt too. It doesn't matter. I'm one of those cooks that at least the salt part, it doesn't matter. You can use canning salt. You can use iodized salt. It really doesn't matter. Then I'm going to crack my eggs.
Sorry, how much salt, Celeste?
Just whatever to taste. It's just, it adds flavor, and it's part of the covenant, and so that's why they used to put salt in. So it's just whatever you want. Just shake some in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then my cup, my quarter of a cup of, my quarter measuring cup is occupied for my coffee. So I'm using a third of a measuring cup. So what I'm going to do is just measure out a half. And I know how to do that because I've done this recipe a million times. So here's my olive oil, and then I just dump it in. And then I take my fingers and scrape it because the time of waste is over. So we really want to make use of every single bit that we can. And I will leave the olive oil out because we're going to use it once we're done here. And at this point, I can put my measuring spoons away, and I can wash up or clean up any dishes. As you can see, this is starting, let's see, it's starting to rise. I don't know if I can get that great of a picture of it. There it is. And so we have a good 7 minutes. I'm going to put my yeast back in the refrigerator and I'll be right back. Okay, I can't stand it. I'm getting my spatula out because I will be using it in a few minutes. Does anybody have any questions while we're waiting for our yeast to rise?
My yeast doesn't look like that.
What does it look like?
Let me see if I can flip. Looks like this.
So that means your temperature was either too cold or too hot. So you need to dump that out and try and get Try and get it 100 degrees. Use it with your finger. It would not be scalding, but it would be warm to the touch, like warmer than your body temperature.
Okay, so maybe it was too hot.
Yeah, it will kill the yeast if it's. Did you put the sugar in it?
Mm-hmm. Yeast, sugar, and hot water.
Then it was hot, too hot, or too cold.
So if I don't have a temperature, you said not too hot. Okay, I'll try again.
Like I said, when you do the finger touch, you don't want it scalding where you couldn't put your finger in it, but you don't want it cool. Like if it feels cool to you, that's too cold.
Okay.
And Judith is saying, uh-oh. Judith, what is uh-oh? You can type it into the chat. I have a minute. I used, Judith, I used 1 tablespoon of yeast. Oh, Sarah said that. Okay. Oh, yeah, Sarah's went belly up. And mine is not actually because I kind of had it clumpy. I might let it sit a little bit longer. Yeast loves warmth. So once it is rising, like I can actually put this over here on the wood stove. So I don't want to kill the yeast, but I can put it over on my wood stove. Let's see. This is really, so that it can be warm. This is my warm section, not my hot section. So we'll see if that encourages mine. Like I said, there have been some yeast viability issues lately. We started noticing, those of us that make bread on a consistent basis, we noticed this starting about 17 years ago. Even the most professional of bread makers were having issues. Sometimes you get some bad yeast, and we think that it was deliberate. So you just have to watch, and that the time may come where you just can't buy yeast because they're just kind of like Chinese junk. It's not any good. So at that point, we're going to have to go to our wild yeasts. And did you stir it? And did you put sugar in it?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Not yet. I just did the hot water. So I'm thinking maybe it's a little too hot.
Okay, then add a little bit of cold water to it. Just a little bit.
It's not burning me.
Okay, then that's probably okay.
I'll wait one more.
Do you have a thermometer in your house like that you would take your temperature with?
No.
Oh, you need to get a thermometer of some kind,
It's too hot. There's steam coming off of it.
Well, it just that depends on if you can comfortably put your finger in it, then it's probably okay.
Only for like 10 seconds. So.
Okay, then it's too hot. It's too hot.
I'm just gonna let it cool off for a second. It's interesting about the yeast situation because I got this huge little container of yeast, but then when Passover comes, I'm thinking, great, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I got all these little packets of sourdough yeast starter as well. So, So you just don't use it in kosher homes. What they do is they have a
a cupboard that they put their things that have yeast in it. Well, you can do it two ways. You can sell it to somebody for like $1, or you can put it in a cupboard that is yeast products and tape that cupboard shut.
Okay.
And that way nobody goes into the cupboard. They know that that's the naughty cupboard. And so that's how you deal with the Passover. And that way you're not wasting your yeast. It's just not accessible.
Okay, good idea. Okay, I poured it in now, and hopefully it was.
And my finger went off, so I'm going to check. So I'll wait just a few more minutes, but as you can see, it's a little bit, it's not quite as fluffy as I would like. Let's see if I can get a, I don't know how to do this. See, it's not as fluffy as I would like, so I'm going to wait about 3 more minutes, and we can visit while it's doing its thing. Of course, I didn't start my fire here this morning, right, like when I usually start my fire. I'm going to get my coffee. So,
I have a question, Celeste.
okay.
We couldn't find yeast anywhere yesterday. My husband went to several stores. I thought I had one packet in my cabinet but I don't. But I started a sourdough starter from scratch today, last night, today. I can't remember. I did one yesterday and the flies got, I put it outside, duh! And I didn't cover it. That didn't go so well. So I started one, I think, this morning, but it's rising nicely. Can I use that today is my question. Or you mentioned 5
It really takes 5 days to get the culture to the degree that it is going to maintain through the process. You might be able to get away with 3 days, and then it wouldn't be as sour, but you would have enough bacteria in there to raise it. But I wouldn't do it today. It just doesn't have enough oomph to it.
Okay, that was my question. Thanks. I'll just wait to do the bread. I was hoping to do it. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, is that there's a run on yeast right now.
Yeah, I couldn't find it anywhere.
Thank the good Lord, I know both ways. I have enough yeast in my freezer. And it is amazing how fast our supply chain went down. Aren't you guys all amazed? I mean, I went, when I took Miss Zippy to the vet, I stopped at the restaurant supply store, and it looked like locusts had been through. And my thought was, I can't believe that they have put us to a third world country status so fast. It's not coming back. People think that it's coming back, but it's not. It's going to be a totally different world on the other side, because they're just putting in all these different requirements. Our consumption, what they're going to allow us is 1.2 ounces of a protein that's not meat, insect or laboratory protein a week, and 36 grams of a carbohydrate, and that includes nothing, no sugar at all, every 21 days. I mean, that is worse than what the Jewish people and political dissenters and stuff had during World War II. That's way lower than a subsistence diet.
So that would be in the camps. If the government's providing food, they won't, God willing, they don't come and confiscate what we have. I have a little bit, but I'm not ready for a year. I've just got a little bit here and there, and I'm out in the country.
And so what we need to do is, when you see something that you can store or is storable, then pick it up, because the days of your grocery stores being the way that they have always been, you're like, when I went to the restaurant store, they had 50 pounds of hamburger and I bought 30 pounds. And tomorrow I will can up that hamburger in pint jars so that I can eke it out longer. So we're going to have to pay attention to stuff like that and pick up when we see something, pick it up and store it or save it, whether that's dehydrating, canning. Don't pick it up if you can't preserve it or if you can't manage or rotate your stock. But we're not going to have the what we had in the past. It's what they've designed for the other side of COVID is completely artificial. They say nothing from nature. Absolutely nothing from nature. We're not going to be allowed after COVID to take anything from the natural world. So what we stock up now is what we're going to go into the times of Revelation. And we're also getting very close to the mark. Very, very close. Right. I would not be as surprised if the mark doesn't turn up within the next year, and I'm thinking sooner than that. Wow. So then our ability to buy and sell is going to be compromised. If we don't take the vaccine, they may not let us out of our house ever again. So we just have to be aware of that. And so pick up anything that you see that can be usable. If you can dehydrate it, if you can can it, if you can freeze it, but if you freeze it, be aware that they are talking about taking down the power, which would do a couple things. It would not only kill a lot of people because they don't have power, but it also, our communications will go down. And so our ability to do classes like this and keep connected is going to be disrupted, and that's by design. So hold on, I think you don't want to let your yeast go too high. So here's my yeast and what it looks like. If I can, there it is.
I think this is starting to look better.
Oh, good.
And guess what? I actually found a thermometer.
Yay! That's great. So you keep yours going, and because I've got a few things to do here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my yeast and I'm going to put it in the bowl, the large bowl, with my eggs and my salt and my oil and the sugar. Like I said, you can use honey. It really is delicious with honey, and I prefer that. But just for less messy sake for today, I did the sugar. Now what you're going to do is, I'll try and get this over here and get my coffee out of the way, and I'm going to
Millie! Shush it. Hush!
Yes?
Millie, you stop it.
So I'm mixing all the ingredients, and I do this for a few minutes, and then I will start my timer. Whoops. So this is about what it looks like when I will actually get my hands dirty, as they say. Now, at this point, if you have like a solitaire diamond or any rings, you want to take your rings off, or they can end up in the dough. So it's a good thing to take your rings off, and then otherwise getting this dough out of your rings is a real pain in the neck. And then I will take a few minutes, and I'm going to thoroughly mix all of the flour in to the dough, and then I will actually start kneading it. I'm not actually kneading right now. I'm just trying to mix the dough in. Sometimes, depending upon your humidity, you might have to add a little bit more of the liquid. Sometimes I do. It will depend on your humidity. It depends on how dry your flour is. So here's my dough, and I'm putting it pretty much I got almost everything out of my bowl, but I'm going to put this little bit. Boy, my computer, I'm going to have to wash my computer here. So I would have like a quarter of a cup or a half a cup of warm liquid. It doesn't matter if it's hot or just lukewarm is fine. And just in case you need some, because once you're, let's see here. So now it is what I'm going to do is start my timer actually. So I've set my timer for 15 minutes, and what I'm doing is kneading, and I want to first off get all this flour that is loose cannons. This takes a few minutes and then it'll have a real silky. I am going to add a little bit of water because I just feel that it's too dry. And it's better to just do this in little increments. You don't want your dough overly wet. And then you just gather like a mother hen all your loose flour until it becomes one unit. So it's just starting to get that nice. I have a tiny, tiny bit of flour floating around, but like the mother hen, I'm gathering that flour and sticking it under the wings of this dough. Now, sometimes I find this really therapeutic. I mean, I really didn't know if I was going to cook after David was killed, but I did. And I found that sometimes I cried. Each season, if you do this every week, sometimes your heart will be singing and you have a song in your heart, and it's a good time to spend praying while you're doing this. And sometimes there's tears. Sometimes I'm crying. It's a sad season in my life, and the tears fall into the dough. But it really is therapeutic. It's good for your arms. Like I said, it's a great time to just spend some time praying to the Lord. Now what I'm doing is I'm really pushing with the palms of my hands. And what this flour has is gluten. And gluten is what makes it stretchy and bind together so that the yeast can act upon it and it rises. But you want to encourage that elasticity. So I do that with putting my full weight on the palms of my hands and then rolling the dough and then turning the dough. And I fold it over to make sure that all areas so it'll have kind of a silky feel a lasting feel to it. Then you have to get the dough off your fingers. Like I said, we're going into a time of famine, so you're going to want to save every single bit of everything, because the day may come when, if they're charging us by the calorie for food, that's going to be pretty expensive. That's all I can say. Does anybody have any questions?
What do you think about like buying gold and silver for a time like this?
I believe that gold and silver have always been recognized. I'll show my face, and then if you guys want to see what it looks like afterwards. It's always been recognized as currency. Another thing I would consider is at least get 100 pounds of salt, because people need salt, and salt, believe it or not, is one of those unknown currencies. But people need to have salt. And so unless you live by the ocean and can get your own salt, or by like the Dead Sea, or Salt Lake City or something, you can barter the salt, or you can use the salt. But I would say gold and silver's antimicrobial. Hi.
I'm a bit late, I'm sorry, but look what I've got. Wait, I don't know if you can see it. Wait a minute, I need to here we go. See this? This is amazing. This is wheat. It's called Khorasan flour. And
Wow.
it's the wheat of the pharaoh. So this probably would have been in Joseph's storehouses during the famine of that time. So that would be amazing. I'll have to obviously do it later now. So sorry about that.
Well, this is recorded, so you can do it later.
Yeah,
if you would,
absolutely.
if you would like.
Yeah, I've got fresh yeast as well. Did you use fresh yeast?
I didn't use wild yeast this time. Maybe the next time we'll do one where we do our wild culture. I am going to do a short piece this week on making your own sourdough and also Amish friendship bread starter. So we'll do that sometime this week.
That'll be amazing. That'll be good, because I've got enough fresh yeast, and I've got the other yeast that you put that is activated by hot water as well. So I've got plenty. I could be making bread for the whole neighborhood, actually. So if I wanted to.
I would conserve it, because there's a run on yeast here in the States, and you can't get yeast. So many people are finding that the shelves are bare. So I have about 8 minutes left of kneading, and I'm continuing to press the palms of my hands, putting my whole weight, and then pushing outward towards the computer, towards you guys. And it's a workout. I mean, you can get winded, but it's good for your arms,
So the reason I was asking about the gold and silver, I did pick up some, I had picked up some silver combi bars, and but then I decided to pick up some more, and this order I have to go to the bank and do a bank wire to pay for it. But I don't know why Satan was just making me feel really bad about it yesterday. Like I shouldn't be buying gold and silver. Like I felt really guilty. Like I should only, given I'm storing up on, seeds and vegetables, and I have flour and rice and beans and all of those things that are to me worth more than silver and gold. But for whatever reason, I was just feeling really bad. And I don't know if it's just because spending, money that I don't usually spend, like $500 at once, and just so much spending recently on stocking up on water, and just, it's almost like this is what my life savings was for. It was for this. I mean, praise the Lord that I have savings and I can. So I just wondered if, you know, I don't know why I'm feeling so guilty about spending this money on things that I do believe that we will need gold and silver. But I also have this feeling that, you know, not that it doesn't matter, but we're almost to that point where I'm not sure that it matters. And my spiritual bank account is more important than just all of these things we're stocking up. Although we have to, it feels a little counterintuitive. So I don't know if you have any.
One thought that I have, and we've all been in that nesting mode, but part of what's keeping us, restraining us in a way, is our normalcy bias. We've been studying prophecy for so long, and it's down the road, it's in the future, but it's here now. And so part of that I've really seen with all of us, even myself, is accepting that the prophecies are coming to pass now, and we're not waiting anymore. And we have to act. Just like Joseph had to stock up during the 7 years of plenty, we are stocking up. We are stocking up like Noah. We are stocking up like so many people in Scripture. And if it isn't for us, then so be it. But that gold and silver might, not that we're trying to save our lives, but it could put you in the right place at the right time. Somebody willing to barter with you. You need something, maybe it's an antibiotic or something, you know, a critical supply. And the person will recognize gold and silver as an exchange. And it's coming very soon that there's not going to be cash.
Right.
And I wouldn't do crypto because that's like the prince of the power of the air. 1 minute it's there, 1 minute it's gone.
Right.
And plus there's contracts. It's all going to be in blockchain and distributed ledgers. So we want to be free of that system. So this is a way that between believers, maybe we can exchange goods and services, and we may have to bribe a guard or someone, if it's possible at that time, to maybe continue your ministry just a little bit longer, protect your family, whatever that might be. Not, like I said, it's not the focus of just saving our life, just to save our life. It will serve God's purpose for us to continue to gather as many souls as possible before the destruction and before they take, certain people take the mark. So I think it's wise and very prudent and they're antimicrobial. Gold and silver are antimicrobial. So
how do you use them to be? I mean, you mean as far as like melting it down into a tool to use, or no, just putting it in water
you could do that. Gold and silver salts are very healing. In the old days, they did put like little silver and gold flecks in water or maybe wine, and used it to fight infection before antibiotics. But I'm just saying, just when you transfer it, like if you transfer a dollar bill, it's going to have everything from cocaine to germs on it. But when you give somebody gold or silver, there's no germs on it. And there's not really any cocaine or residue on that. So it's for the people who you're bartering with, you can use that as a bonus. Say, this is safe. The other stuff like cash is not safe. You could get anything from it.
Yeah. And interesting about the crypto thing, if the grid goes down, how are you going to access your crypto money?
So they've got it all worked out because there's enough nano in the atmosphere to keep the bee system afloat. So my timer just went off, and this is what my bread looks like. It has a very elastic feel to it. As you can see, I can kind of stretch it. And it's nice to the touch. It's not dry. It's elasticy. It's not too wet. If it was too wet, it won't rise well in my bowl. So the next thing I'm going to do is take my dirty computer over here. And you want to wash out the big bowl that you originally had your ingredients in.
Should the whole bowl of yeast be not watery anymore, or should it still be watery?
Let me see.
Let me show you.
Oh, it's coming to life. What you might want to do is put it, if you have a larger bowl or pan, you might put it in in a hot water, like a double boiler type thing.
Okay.
Just to get it to encourage it to rise. Maybe your kitchen is a little bit cool.
Okay. Let me do that.
So I'm cleaning my bowl just to get all the previous ingredients out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a little bit of olive oil and just a tiny a hair. I'll show you just that much. And I use my hand. I'm not scared of getting my hands dirty or oily. It's just, I guess it's the farmer in me. And then I'm spreading the oil all around the bowl. So that it won't stick as it rises. Then I hope I don't cut you guys off, but I am going to wipe my computer off because this is my broadcasting computer and it's not my workhorse. So I don't really want to get this computer. I can't afford endless computers here. And
Have you been dragging your laptop back and forth?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, I have a I did get a camera, but I have, because of COVID and Branson, I have not had enough time to learn how to use it. And I'm not technically inclined, so I'm a Luddite, and I'm proud of it. Okay, so what I'm going to do, there's the dough. This part is really easy. So now what I do is I just dump the dough in the oiled bowl. And then I have a flour sack cloths that I use for everything from fermenting to bread. Actually, I'm going to make this a little bit neater because I stretched it and it's not going to like that when it... Okay. And then I'm going to take you over. So I've been pre-warming this pan. You can do it to boiling, or you can just do it lukewarm, whatever you like. Yeast loves heat. So this is me giving your yeast a Hawaiian vacation, and it will love it. And so you just put your bowl in, and then you cover it up, the whole bowl. So this is kind of like a double boiler thing, only it's not now. All you do is you heat up the water. You don't keep it heated. That hot water will last for the 2 hours. Now we set our timer for 2 hours. So now we just wait for 2 hours, and the bread will be rising during that time. The next step that we will do, hold on, coffee time. I put a little chocolate in it, so. So the next thing that we'll do is we will punch it down in 2 hours, and we will knead it for about 5 minutes. Then we will cut our loaves. You make a big long snake out of it, and you cut it. I cut mine in 4 pieces because I use 4 loaf pans. On one of them, I'm going to make it really pretty to show you how that you can do something special with your loaves. I'm actually going to do a braided bread, and I'm going to put sesame seeds and poppy seeds with an egg bath, which makes your bread very shiny. It gives that sheen to it that it doesn't have otherwise. So we're going to do that. Typically I don't do that for my chickens, but because we're doing this, and
can you teach us how to make challah bread?
That's what we're making challah right now.
Oh, wonderful, great. Good.
Yeah. So it is good for the Sabbath, this bread, and you can make it in different forms depending on the festival that you're enjoying at the time. There's different forms that you can make, like at the New Year and at Shavuot, it's like a round. Oh, just a sec. Let me get picture. So we're coming, after Passover, 50 days later, there is Shavuot, and also it's the same day as Pentecost. And so these are the different shapes that you can make your challah. Here's some more. So there's many different ways that you can do it. And then, of course, I have to show you my favorite part. I love this little basket one. Look at that. My favorite part are the cheesecakes for Shavuot. So traditionally in Jewish homes, you have cheesecake. And I have continued the tradition, and I have a absolutely decadent chocolate truffle raspberry cheesecake that is woo. Or I make key lime. I sometimes do New York. It just depends. So anyway, so this is in this book, Shavuot Secrets.
Celeste, are you Jewish, or are you or what? Yeah.
So, my family is Jewish, so I am Jewish by blood. I became a Christian at 4, and I believe I do both. I celebrate the feast, and it speaks to me, and I am going to do a Passover Seder of Yeshua, Jesus, in the Passover, and I'm doing it just like this class, so you can all join in and see what Jesus experienced and where he is in each step of the Passover. It's something that I've been doing for many years, and I thought, why do it by myself when I can invite all of you? So, Judith, I have cheesecake recipes that are savory cheesecake recipes, and those are not sweet. They have carrots, onions, peppers, lots of herbs. I put sage and savory and oregano and thyme in it, and it is so delicious. And then I garnish it with like pansies or Johnny jump ups to make it really pretty. So it's not sweet at all. It is, and I have it as a main dish, and it freezes. It's a breadcrumb and butter crust, and so it freezes well. You make it in a what are those pan? A springform pan, and you take it out, let it cool, put it in a large gallon Ziploc bag, or you can make little individual ones if you have little tiny springform pans, and you just stick it in your freezer. It's good for over a year. I mean, I've got a bunch of them out there in my freezer. I call it farmer fast food. So it doesn't have to be sweet. Any other questions? Yes, I think so, Judith. I think we'll have to do a cheesecake. We can do a cheesecake class. There's not much to cheesecake, but we can do it. This is so much fun. I learned all these skills, and it was a hard sell. Nobody was much interested for many years. I mean, I've been doing this for decades, and nobody was much interested. Well, they're interested now. So I think next week I'm going to make barbecue sauce, and then I can it. And your own homemade barbecue sauce is absolutely wonderful. So I'll be giving the recipe for that. You can make your own ketchup. And God willing, if I have enough tomatoes and I get my greenhouses up, we can do a ketchup class. So any other questions? I'll stay on for about 10 more minutes. Then I have to do a global governance thing, just because of we get spiritual resistance here on the front lines. And so I did a show with L.A. Marzulli yesterday. Well, the camera failed and the sound failed. So I'm going to, for all of you guys, I'm going to do a synopsis of this because I think it will give you a really clear picture of what's in play right now. And so I'm going to do that while my bread is rising, and then we will reconvene in, hold on, let me go check we will reconvene in about an hour. And so, but do you have questions now before we break? Because I know what it's like to try and remember questions an hour, as you get busy doing other things.
No, I just wanted to say that I just asked if you were Jewish because, a lot of the time, because I'm not Jewish, I was brought up Christian, but over the last few years, I really looked into my Bible going, why don't we observe Sabbath? Why don't we observe the feast, right? These are, it's not only for the Jewish people, this is for God's people. So a lot of people, when they hear me say that I observe Sabbath, they ask me if I'm Jewish, and then I say, well, no, and then I explain to them. So it's just so beautiful when we follow the law and also have the faith in Christ, and then that's what it's repeated in Revelation, those who follow the commandments and have the faith of Christ. So anyway, it's just so beautiful. So that's why I was asking.
We just want to ensure that we're not doing it in a legalistic way. We're doing it with the Spirit of Jesus. And so let's say I went to your house and you were serving pork chops, and I don't buy pork, so I don't eat pork. But if I came to your house and I would not embarrass or humiliate, and I am grateful for the food that God places in front of me, so I would eat the pork. that's just one thought. And then I've shared this once before, but some people are new, is that David, my husband, was not a Sabbath keeper. He was a beautiful Christian, but he just didn't know much about the Old Testament, and he didn't know much, he knew the Psalms and he knew the stories, but he was just practiced like communion, and that was it. And so we got together, and it was Passover. Is there somebody that can, that has their mic open? Could you all mute yourself for just a sec? Thank you. So basically, I didn't make a big deal about it. I just observed the Sabbath, and I always made a lovely dinner. The table is all set, and I still do this even as a single woman. Here's my Sabbath dishes. And so we always had nice meal, and we always spent that time in prayer and studying the word. And he would always laugh because I would get like 30 books out on the Bible, looking at different, like the Hebrew, the Greek, the Aramaic, the different commentaries, and he always got a kick out of that. But about 6 months after, and he celebrated the Sunday, and I basically had made enough food that I could enjoy both. And he actually enjoyed both. And he came to me and he said, I want to start observing the Sabbath about 6 months later. And I didn't say a word. It wasn't pushy. And it was, if he did, he did. And if he didn't, he didn't. But it was really wonderful. Always, my baby's outside. Oh, so precious. So anyway, that's kind of, we have to do it in sensibly, like not rote, so that we're getting the spirit of what these holidays are about. There's no sense even doing them if it's not in our heart and if it's not growing us closer to Jesus Christ. And we always have to remember that anything can be an idol. Even religious, a calling can be an idol if we're putting it ahead of Jesus Christ. So we never want to do that. So anyway.
I agree. Yeah.
So I think if nobody has any questions, I'm going to get my global governance deal out of the way. And then we will reconvene in an hour. And we will continue on with our bread making. And God bless you, and we'll see you in just a few, okay?
I just wanted to say thank you for your recent interview being done by L.A. Marzulli, who interviewed you. That was really helpful and fascinating to conglomerate the information together to see what's transpiring and how it's actually playing out. So thank you for that as well.
Well, LA's camera failed, so that's what I'm going to do right now, is do it with the camera so that you can see what I'm actually talking about, and that will probably be up sometime tomorrow. So for now, God bless, and we'll see you in just a few minutes. So, well, I know that many of you took off, but for those that are watching this. So I'm going to take this off. I've got an hour left, but as you can see, my bread is rising nicely. It is very happy that it's actually, well, it's got an hour to go. So I got to put the lid or the cover, my bowl thing, All right. So that's back on. Okay. So this is what it looked like. To me, I don't think that it rose that great, but this is just for chickens. What probably is, my yeast is probably getting a little bit old because I went on this ketogenic diet and I'm not eating bread and I don't have David. And so let me bring this over and we will get started with round 2. Now what I just did is I turned my big bowl, or my big fluted canner enamelware, on, and I put a cookie sheet on top of it, and I did put it on high because after we do this step, the bread dough rises for 1 more hour. So what I'm going to do is take my dough and just dump it. Let's see if I can get it here. Wait. So I don't really need to punch this one down too much, but you do kind of want to get the air bubbles out, and you'll notice that the crust is a little bit dry. Of course, that's because I heat with wood, and so I've got my wood stove going. So this, I think the reason is that it should have had a little touch more fluid in it, but that's okay. It's still going to turn out really nice. And once again, I'm trying to get all the air bubbles out, or at least evenly dispersed. And I'm kind of kneading in this, the dry spots, so that I'll have a nice crust instead of a dry crust. And we do this just for a few minutes. Officially, it says 10 minutes, but I don't think I usually do it 10 minutes.
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, in the beginning, or depends how much time, and it depends, is this going to be for company? Like for me, it's like, this is just for the chickens. So do I have to have perfection for the chickens? No. But if I was going to have guests coming over, you better believe I'm going to make it. Do everything just perfect, and I'm not going to cut any corners at all.
Right.
But for chickens, they're lucky. How many chickens do you know get organic fresh bread?
Sister Celeste, I wanted to ask you, I have 100 grams of raw yeast. How much of that should I use for the challah bread?
It's one tablespoon. Do you have a tablespoon?
Yeah.
So it's 1 tablespoon of yeast and 1 teaspoon of sugar.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Thank you.
And I did put the recipe on Patreon. Well, I put the ingredients, and what I'll do after the class is put the full recipe, and that way you'll have it, and you can just print it out if you like.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Thank you.
And you can use different kinds of flour. If you wanted to, you could use rye flour, buckwheat flour, anything that has gluten in it. I don't think it works very well with rice flour. My daughter was celiac, and I was in the early 70s. The only flour they had that was not wheat or corn was rice flour. And so it doesn't do, because it doesn't have the gluten in it. I mean, you'll make a loaf, but it's going to be more of a peasant bread type of loaf. Now, these days, I've got some gluten-free, because David wanted me to try it, but then he died. So I never did use it. But maybe I'll try it. Or if one of you tries a gluten-free, let me know, does it Does it raise up? You know, because I don't know. I would assume I mean, now these days there's so many options. Back then, it was really hard with celiac patients. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is you have to manhandle it. And what I'm going to make, I'll show it to you when I'm done, is I'm going to kind of make like a long eel or a snake as wide as my dining room table is. And so what that takes is I'm squeezing it. I'm squeezing it to make it long. I'm making it longer. Whoops, but I didn't want to do that. You don't want to break it. So, and then you kind of squeeze it. You want it about 2 inches. The dough about 2 inches. I will show it to you in just a sec here. Let's get this. Let's see. Let's see if I can. So there you go. Whoops. So what I'm going to do is cut this in half. And then I'm going to half that. So I'll have 4 pieces that are about this size. But because we're going to make a pretty loaf, because let's say you're going to have company, you want a pretty loaf, so you take your bigger section and you slice it in thirds. So now I've got 3, and I will roll this out the same way. Oops, I lost it because I got dough on my... Okay, come on. Hopefully you're going to be able to see that. Okay, so I'm going to roll it out the same way that I did with the bigger pieces. Only these will be smaller. For this one, you want your hands spread out. Kind of this, like this, with your fingers spread out, and you roll back and forth until you get it the length that you want it. So I just got done with my second one. Now I'm going to do... I keep losing my screen because I put my dough on it. So I'm on my last one. So what you don't want to do is tear it, because it's important to have that elasticity. So if you do accidentally tear your bread, then, or your roll, then you just knead it again for a couple minutes. And you want your, let's see, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this here. So you want these all about the same size. And what I'm going to do now is hopefully get the computer. Well, I guess it would help if I move the bread. There. And all you would do is, like if you were braiding a child's hair, is you braid it. And then, I hope you're seeing this. So it's braided, and then you tuck under the ends. And then you go to the other side, you make sure that that's braided. And then you tuck it under.
Very good.
And then basically you can fluff it up or whatever. So that's going to be our pretty loaf. And then the other ones, because like I said, I'm not going to worry about it because it's just going to the chicken. So I'm just going to make it loaf size. This. Now, for those of you who have just joined us, we have our pot on the stove on high. We've turned up the heat again because we're going to rise this, the second rising. And now what we do is we get our loaf pans out. And I like to use butter for my, to butter my loaf pans. Some people use oil. I find that the oil sticks, and I don't like that. So I use butter. And you want to make sure that all of the sides, because you never know how a loaf is going to rise, you want to make sure that the bottom is done and the sides are all done. And so I have 4 of these to do. So does anybody have any questions while I'm buttering pans? No, you don't need any grease-proof paper. I've used some paper on occasion for some pastries, but never my bread. So we will brush the bread after it rises the second time. So we will be brushing it with an egg white or egg brush, and then we will put our seeds on it. Like I said, you could put anything. And at this, actually, when I'm done with this, when I get this on, we'll talk about this stage for a minute that I just did. I'm just not used to having you all in my kitchen. I'm a little out of practice. Don't forget, I'm a widow in the wilderness. I don't have this opportunity very often. So now what I'm going to do, my pans are all buttered. So I'm going to take my bread and place it nicely in the pan. where it will rise. And so I'll do that with all of the 4 loaves that I have made. Now, when you do this pretty one, you can put it on like a baking stone. They do very well on baking stone, and you can just make sure that it is oiled or buttered, however you want to do it. And you can make it any shape, like we just saw in the book. There's many different shapes that we can make it. So this is our pretty one. It's, you know, because I was doing it, you know, and trying to get it on camera, it's not as pretty as it usually is. So now what I'm going to do is just take it over and put it on my cookie sheet. So I'll bring you over here, and you can see that it's up there on the cookie sheet. And let's give you a peek at, there they are. So this is the second rise. It's only 1 hour. Once again, we want the moist heat. So that's why we put it over the water, because that will encourage the yeast to grow. And I'm going to clean up my mess so we can go to the next thing. Okay, so at this stage, at your second kneading, what you can do is do many different things. If you want some raisin bread, you can put raisins in it. It really kind of helps if you, like with any batter, if you put the raisins, if you dust them with flour. You can put, let's say, fruitcake, a fruitcake mix. You could make, you could do a savory. You could mix in oregano and sage. Yes, you can use any of your spices at this point in the second kneading. I mean, this is before you put it in the pan. Like when I was kneading it, making the snake, that's when you add, if you're going to add something, you can add garlic powder. You can add minced garlic. That's always very good. Yes, honey and cranberries. There is this absolutely delectable that David absolutely loved. It's a nuttarella. I use this recipe, but I followed the nuttarella, and I'm allergic to nuts, so I can't do nuts. So I made my own chocolate syrup from, I melted down chocolate chips and put a little bit of milk in. And it was a thick mixture, a little bit thicker than Hershey's chocolate. And I will put that recipe up on Patreon and watch the video like many times. You know, if you've got an allergy or if you have a preference, you can substitute. And we're all going to have to get used to that type of thing. And it makes this, you cut it and it looks like this flower. And it is so cool. It is. I wish I could do it right now, but I don't know on Zoom how to share screen. If this was Skype, I would be able to do it. So I will just put it in the thing. But this is the, so just when you, after it's risen for 2 hours and you're kneading it to get, I would knead it for a good few minutes to get your air bubbles and all that. And then add whatever you wish to have as an addition if you're making kind of a fun loaf. You could put, let's say you're using rye bread, at this point, at that point, you would put in your caraway seeds to make it like a real German rye bread. So the sky's the limit of what you can do with it. So, you just have to have fun. Yes, it's a very forgiving recipe. You start basic. I love to do basic and then just add. And I love doing the elegance and having the fun with it later. And that's why I do my plain meat. And then I can choose between pesto or spaghetti sauce or whatever I want to do with my meat. Yeah, I just ordered a bunch of spices because, do you have Amazon, Ariana? You might be able to get it through Amazon. I just ordered some just to top off my spices because I know I'm gonna bloom bloom in the doom. I don't want to go into the apocalypse without spices. I want flavor in my rice and my beans and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you'll be able to find the caraway seeds there. And they've got anise, they got all sorts of stuff. And oh, look I just picked up at the restaurant supply store. Oh, where is it? Yeah, where is it? I don't know where it is. I buried it. Well, that's interesting. Where did you go? Well, I was going to show you my big haul, but I don't know what I did with it. What did I do with it? I got some powdered, what's the Japanese hot stuff? What's the Japanese hot stuff?
You got me.
Oh, and I don't see it either, and it's supposed to be right here in this thing. Oh, there it is. Hold on. Wasabi. So look at how nice that will be to have, like, those of you that have to have your horseradish fix, in the middle of winter. You can also buy wasabi plants. They make great house plants, but I haven't done it yet. And since I've got the plant graveyard thing going, until the plant graveyard is over with, I'm not buying any plants. So, oh, I forgot to turn the...
She's cute. She's cute.
It always helps to remember the timer, or we'd be sitting here chatting all day. So, any other questions about bread making or cooking or silence? So right now, the pan with the water, I put a cookie sheet over on, and the pans are on top of it, and then there's the towel over that. So that's what it's doing, is sitting there for an hour. And then, actually, it should be, so I set my timer typically for 45 minutes, and then then I turn my oven on at 45 minutes, and it's at 350 degrees. And then you bake it on the middle rack for a half an hour. And then I usually take my bread out of the pan right away so that it doesn't stick. And that's when you will discover if you buttered your pan correctly, because wherever you didn't get that butter, it's going to stick. And so I usually just use a spatula to help me get the bread out without damaging the bread. So, what spices should one have? Could you provide a list? Well, you are probably, should I dare even use the hoarding word? Hold on. I don't know if you can. Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. Do you see this? And then over here. So.
It looks like mine, Celeste.
What?
It looks like mine.
So I have almost every spice that there is because I am a spicy lady and I love my spices. I have every kind, and many of these I grow myself. Many of them I grow myself. So then I get my dehydrator out, and I know I should be in glass, but half of them are in the plastic, and they have those nice little labels on them. And it's so much nicer than the my Sharpie labels, you know. So I have some, but I go through the spices so fast. So I have this thing, this educational thing. I think it's $10 or something like that. And it talks about substitutions and what you can do. And I go into different spices and like what's cream of tartar and arrowroot and alum and what can you do with these things and how do you substitute if I don't have this and I want to make a cake. I really highly recommend that you get that because it's old housewives information that they knew, but these days not everybody knows how to do that.
No, I don't.
So it's really nice to have. And once we get into the swing of this, you're going to learn, I just add applesauce to a cake to make it moister, and especially if I don't have an egg. Little tips like that. What are your substitutions? It really is a good thing. So I tend to like to grow my own herbs. Of course, I do have some things like nutmeg. I'd love to be able to grow a cocoa plant. I did have an allspice, but that was one of my 15-year-old trees that died with this plant destroyer. 15 years old. It was a well-established plant, and it died in 30 days. And there was nothing to stop it. Yes, baking soda is absolutely an essential. Get a lot of it. It's running low. That's one of the things that Costco and all of that is running low on because people are all of a sudden woke up and said, oh, I need baking soda. And if you're going to do baking powder, you want an aluminum-free baking powder. You're going to pay extra for that. But that way, aluminum is a contributing factor for dementia and Alzheimer's. So none of us need that. And I don't use any aluminum in my baking because I used cast iron primarily is what I use or stainless steel, but mostly cast iron. Yeah, I know it's insane that they put aluminum in it, but it's called value added. Oh, there's either deer out there or elk. I went out there yesterday and there were elk. And Zippy's out there. I hope she doesn't chase them. So, yeah, I really like one thing you might want to consider if you don't have one is a cast iron casserole type of a dish. And the reason is if you are going to be doing any hunting with lean deer and squirrels and rabbits and even goat, it is so tender. And otherwise it might be really stringy and dry and hard. if you were to cook it in a regular like pan. But when you do it in the cast iron, oh, it's just absolutely wonderful. And yeah, I love elk. I just so miss I miss the elk that David would bring home. So so other things, I would get canning jars. Make sure that if you have a freezer, that you have as many canning jars that you can can at least the meat. You might lose your vegetables, whatever. So what I do for Pesach is I do a Moroccan wedding bird. And if you join me for my Seder, you'll see my Moroccan wedding bird. And you use like a basmati rice and lots of curry and saffron, lots of dried fruits, and then lots of onions. And you have this just luxurious golden sauce over the wedding bird. And then with all that fruit, it's just, it's absolutely kind of Middle Eastern, Persian, absolutely wonderful. And it's what they would serve at a wedding in the Middle East. So that's what I have when you join me for my Seder. So that's what I'll be having. So I avoid the lamb just out of respect that there is not a temple. And that's just my own preference. It's, you can have lamb. I eat lamb other times of the year, but for my Seder, I don't, just because there is not the temple. And Jesus is our sacrifice, and he is the perfect one. The reason why some people get upset about, why the third temple and the sacrificial system. Well, that system comes into being because the Word of God says that he desires that none be lost, but that they're saved. And when the Jewish people see the abomination of desolation as spoken of in Daniel, then they flee to over near Petra, Basra, and Jesus fights a battle for them. That's where his white garments, get dipped in blood because he's treading the wine press, as it talks about in Isaiah. And they repent, and they see that he is the Messiah, and they do accept him. So that's why the sacrificial system has to come into being for a short time. So I know that Jesus says these things must come to pass so that he can come. And so we understand as Christians that because we're already saved, but Jesus wants the Jewish people saved too. So do you want a little pre-Pesach teaching since we're just sitting here? Yay, nay? Comments? Okay, hold on just a sec. So here's my matzah. And if you're going to join me for the Seder, I would highly suggest do not wait for the last minute to get your matzah. And as a Christian, you really don't need to make sure that it's kosher for Pesach. That's more expensive. That is also rarer. But that's your choice. That's between you and the Lord. The difference is that they do not allow any fermentation. They take it from the dough to baking within 17 minutes and it's overseen by a rabbi. That's why it's more expensive. I didn't get my Smyrna matzah out. It's a mitzvah or a blessing to make your own matzah. To do it for a crowd is not so easy, I tell you. So this is what matzah looks like. Many of you have probably had it in relationship to communion. which of course Jesus was doing the Passover. Yes? So I want you to notice, we're going to think about the symbolism of Jesus in this bread. And look it's pierced. Mm-hmm. Just as he was pierced. And look at the bruises. That's the little brown. He was bruised for our iniquity. And the stripes, by his stripes we are healed. So this is, very symbolic of Jesus as the bread of life. And it's got his sacrifice written in it. And when the Jewish people are doing their seders, they're actually celebrating the bread of life, Yeshua, Jesus. So anyway, that's just a little tease for what's coming for the Seder.
Celeste, it's Jennifer. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. So in my ladies' Bible study group, somebody posted a question that I thought was interesting, and the question was, is Adam in heaven? And I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it before. I think he is, but what would be your reply if somebody asked you that?
I would say that he probably is. I believe that just that there was the Holy Spirit, not as we know the Holy Spirit after the at the time of Pentecost on, but if you notice during the wilderness wanderings with the children of Israel, there was the people all came out prophesying, and somebody was rebuking, saying, oh, we can't have that. And that Moses rebuked back and said, oh, but that they should all be prophesying the Lord. So I believe that there was this, and Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. So and in the legends, it talks that Adam was very much involved with the prophetic realm. So I believe that he is. I believe that you are given, even if your body is on the way out, that maybe you're even like brain dead, I believe that you're given that one last choice, because he does desire that nobody is lost. And even whatever your situation, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, and you're on your way out, that he says, will you accept me as your Lord and Savior? And then at that point, you say yes or no, and at that point, you would expire. So
I have a really important question. I really want to understand this. I don't fully, and nobody's really been able to answer me. I have asked the Heavenly Father, but it seems that he hasn't given me that understanding yet, because it's not really necessary. But this is just out of interest. So all the patriarchs, because they died before Jesus, they're obviously in heaven. But I'm trying to understand this. Like, does that mean just their spirits are in heaven, as in they're not actual? Because it says, isn't it, in Revelation, that those that are dead in Christ are raised first. That's the first resurrection. So I'm wondering, well, I'm trying to understand, because they must be already resurrected, though, if they're in heaven. So I'm getting confused at that. I will need to understand that.
So Jesus, this is just my understanding. There may be other interpretations of it, but my understanding is Jesus is the spirit of prophecy, and that because the patriarchs engaged in prophetic, they did engage in the prophetic, that came from Jesus Christ. So they had to have believed, just like I believe that the three angels that came to Abraham just before Sodom and Gomorrah, I believe one of those was for the what do you call it, the pre-something of Jesus Christ, before he came in the flesh.
Yeah, I understand all that, but I want to know where they are. Are they in heaven with Jesus, or they're just their remembrance rather than their actual bodies are with Jesus? This is what I'm trying to understand, because I don't really understand it, because it wasn't until Jesus got sacrificed that everybody could really attain eternal life, because that's the reason why he had to die, because that was not open. Because the Israelites' understanding of the resurrection, they understood it. They understood it was not until later, until Jesus would come. So I'm trying to figure out where did they think they went? Because I don't believe they ever said they go to heaven. So I'm trying to figure out, well, if they died before Jesus, but because everyone says that when you're a Christian you go to heaven, but then how are you resurrected again? I'm trying to figure this out. I don't understand, because I've also read that those who are dead in Christ rise first. But if you're already in heaven, why would you get resurrected a second time? It doesn't make sense in my head. I believe it, absolutely, but I'm trying to figure it out because I don't know. And nobody's ever been able to answer this question to me, for me.
So the Jewish people believe that you are asleep when you die until the Messiah comes and they're restricted.
So they're not in heaven then.
Not real. Not. I mean, they don't really differentiate. I haven't heard a teaching on the differentiation.
So is that also inclusive of Christians in the past, after Jesus' death and resurrection? Are they not either resurrected? That won't happen until he returns. Is that right?
So so I did a study, and I never questioned it before until David died, and then I had to face all these questions, like the world of souls and all this. My understanding is when we're absent from the body, we're present with the Lord. Our spirit is with Jesus.
Yeah, but what does that mean, though?
Our spirit is with him, but our bones are in the earth. And then when Jesus comes,
so that's spirit of us, because obviously God is the life-giving spirit. Everything he creates cannot really die, because it's from him. He's eternal. So everything he's created is eternal. So my question ultimately is that if we're with him in spirit, are we aware? Obviously we'd be aware, but how is that just a different dimension as well? I mean, because if we've got spirit bodies, we've got incorporeal bodies, whatever, so we're still there, but are they aware of each other? Are the patriots, matriots, and everybody who's dead and been faithful, are they aware of each other? Are they conversing with each other? What are they doing? So
I had a near-death experience, and I talked about it when we studied Isaiah, and I saw Jesus, and there were other human entities, but they were, it was very different. It was like transparent, luminescent, but you could tell that they were human, but Jesus was resurrected in the same body he died in. It was exactly the same body. So he is in a human and spirit body, fleshly body in heaven. Right. And that's eventually we will all attain that, even though we're in spirit. Yeah? So yes, heavenly body. Just from what I'm studying, and this may change, I can't say, but it was at least to my understanding. So our spirit goes to be with the Lord, then our body, we get the glorified body. We'll spend time in that glorified body, possibly in the Garden of Eden, Gan Eden. But then after the 1,000 years, there is very possibly a time where we are just spirit, where we don't really need our body anymore, because we are so close. We have, there's no sin anymore. We've just, not that we're like the Father, not like the Son, but we are in the image. And so we will be as they are, but they will always be the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh. But that there will become a time where we will totally not need our bodies.
Because when he created Adam and Eve, they were made, God says in his holy word, inspired word, that he made him out of clay. So it made it a physical thing. Obviously, it would make sense that eventually, because obviously with a physical body you bleed, you know, that's a problem, isn't it? That would be a problem in a different dimension, wouldn't it? So I'm guessing that it would have to transfer onto a more spiritual body as it was. But what does that mean though for Jesus though? Because if he was resurrected in the same body he died in, he also will eventually attain to a complete spirit body as well.
But don't forget, Jesus is a totally different, he is absolute divine and absolute human. And we don't know, I mean, we're just finite humans. We don't know how that will play out, because there won't be any need for his humanity anymore, because he already had made the sacrifice. So maybe it's like a garment, which the scriptures often talk about our garment wearing out. And maybe he does not need the garment of his humanity at that point when Abba Father says, you know, you just are spirit like I am spirit, you know, and none of us need our bodies. So I don't know, and none of us really know, but...
Well, because it says, doesn't it, in Revelation, that after 1,000 years then did that new scrolls are open, so that'll be fascinating as well. And that's why it'll be wonderful, because obviously God operates out of time and space, so that's where the eternity things comes in. And yeah, we can't really fully grasp it in our little minds, human minds, but it is phenomenal to just sometimes reflect on it. But this is a question I also have, that some people say that the sacrifices will be reinstituted in the millennial reign, Jesus' millennial reign as sovereign and king. I don't understand why that would happen. I can understand still having certain feast days and stuff like that, but I don't understand why you'd reinstitute sacrificing animals, because Jesus was the ultimate sacrifice. That doesn't make any sense to me.
So I don't believe that it's going to be the animal sacrifices. I think that it's going to be like the altar incense, and giving of grain and fruit of thanksgiving, todah, thankfulness,
giving of ourselves as well in our time,
thankfulness, of worship, not the I mean, they're sacrifices, but you know, when I give of my harvest, because I love you, Lord, and you gave me the best, and I'm giving you the best. So that's what that's what I think. So it wouldn't be like, it wouldn't be an animal sacrifice. It would be incense and other types of thanksgiving and praise and worship sacrifices.
And also, but we're meant to be in Jerusalem in Israel in the 1,000-year reign. How am I going to get there? I live in the UK. How am I going to get there?
I think we've got some exciting times ahead, but that's for another discussion. Hold on, I gotta check and see what time my bread is.
Did you ladies already cut? Did you already cut and fold your bread and put it in the oven?
Yeah, Celeste has done that.
I cut it.
No, not in the oven. It's proofing.
So it's rising its second time.
Woo! Look at that baby.
Wow.
Oh, look at that. Yay!
Hallelujah.
Look at that.
Yay. Okay, so what do we...
So what you want to do is, did you use the 6 cups, or how much flour did you use?
Yes, I used 6 cups.
Okay, so if you've got 4 loaf pans, or however many loaf pans you have, what you want to do is cut it how many loaf pans you have. I did 4 myself.
Okay. I've got A pan
I
like
also have another. Sorry.
that.
Yes, and what you want to do is butter it if you have some butter.
A pan like that.
No,
No.
I would use the loaf pan.
I only have one.
Oh, okay. So you can use both if you want.
Okay. The cast iron. Just put parchment
Butter.
paper on the butter. Okay.
Butter in both of those.
And then I have pie pans.
Uh,
Pie pans.
so what I'm going to walk you through is my pretty loaf. So
Okay.
what you're going to do is you're going to knead it for about 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then you're going to cut your loaf in half, and then I'll walk you through the rest.
Okay. All right.
So
Start
dump it
kneading
out. Just dump it out onto a flat surface.
Okay.
And I have another question as well. So, do you think we'll know we'll know who Abraham and Joseph and all these wonderful patriarchs, matriarchs in the Bible? We will meet them and know who they are. Yes.
I don't know. I just don't know.
Start kneading this baby.
Yeah, start kneading it and try and get all of the air bubbles out. And you want to put all your weight on to your palms of your hands. There you go. You're doing great.
But I would really like to meet them. I'd really like to meet all the characters that were faithful.
Well, hopefully we will. And I think at that point it's not going to matter. The only thing that's going to matter is Jesus. You know,
Very, very true. I agree.
Maybe we'll know. Maybe we won't. Like I would love to see David again, but I don't know if that's. I mean, we may see each other, but there's no marriage in heaven. And and we're going to be focused on other things, you know, whatever that is.
I don't want to marry any of those patriarchs and matriarchs. I just want to sit down and chat to them. Like, what was that really like? This is what I read, but what was it like for you? You know, be amazing. It would be amazing to just sit down and have a conversation. Well, it'd be amazing to have a conversation just with Jesus. Well, we do anyway in our prayers. But I mean, it would be amazing to meet these people who have inspired me and my faith, you know. And like Enoch, is Enoch, so Enoch, because he was taken, so he's not in a spirit body, is he?
Well, what other body would, I mean, I don't believe that any of these people who have passed on, I think now.
He didn't die. Enoch didn't die.
No, but he wouldn't have a physical body, which...
But Jesus does as well. He has a spiritual and physical body because he was resurrected in the same body he died on the cross.
Yeah, but I don't think he's in a physical body anymore. He was flesh, and when he died and when he resurrected, his resurrected body is a spiritual body, even if he took, you know, physical form when he came back and spoke with the disciples, but that's because he's God and he can pretty much do whatever he wants.
But he also had he showed, and doubting Thomas, he showed him where the nails had pierced his wrists and the side where he was pierced. But he would have had to. So yeah, I believe he has both, even in heaven, because he can do a lot that we can't fully understand and comprehend. And obviously, you've got Thessalonians, which says that those who are taken up into the clouds, they're changed in a twinkling of an eye.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't fully explain it myself, but I do, because obviously, even to come back to live in the new heavens and new earth, we take on the form of still humanity as well for a time.
So Judith has a great comment, and that's that the former things won't be remembered. And I know when I had my near-death experience that I was the mother of 2 young children, and when I was in the presence of Jesus, I didn't care. And you know, a mother's love is very powerful. that you would want to be with your young children. And I did not have that in the presence of Jesus. There was love and peace and joy, and I didn't want to go back, but he said, you have to go back. You have a job to do. He didn't say what that job was going to be, and that's part of what I'm doing right now. But I didn't know that at the time. And but I really didn't care. So I think and I did remember thinking to myself, I've got these children, but all I care about is Jesus. So I was kind of aware of my children, but not, it was I was in another dimension or another place. I was in heaven. So
because we have that now in a way, because we don't keep our minds on the things of the earthly things, doesn't it? It says we keep our minds on heavenly things. So
Right.
This is why we know that we will lose our lives for Jesus, because we know it's nothing. It means nothing. Everything here is just insubstantial. Like Paul said, it's all dung. I count it all as dung and rubbish compared to the illustrious, glorious riches of Christ Jesus our Lord. Because this is nothing. You don't take any of it with you. So of course, when you have that understanding, and it can be given to you now, you don't hold any stock in anything. That's why you can love Jesus above everything, even your own children, even your own parents. Anything in this world is transient. It means nothing ultimately compared to the glorious riches. Yeah, we still love them. We have those qualities that God has. But ultimately, this is nothing, compared to the real life.
Kind of different there. And Judith has she's got Revelation 21:4, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. Neither shall there be any more pain, because the former things are all passed away. And that includes our sin, because by his blood, it's covered over as if it never was. But so how God divides that up, like the part of us that is his, and we're sinners saved by grace, and how he divides that up when we go to be with him, when we get our glorified body. I don't know how that works, but the one good news is that we've got the scripture and these comforting verses like Revelation 21:4, that we may not even under a fraction. Are you doing okay?
Yeah.
I was breaking a sweat. I was getting winded when I did mine.
Yeah. No, this is so beautiful. We're just glorifying the Lord and working this bread, and couldn't ask for anything more.
This is the way that it used to be. Just think, so the Lord really did take us into his chamber. The King has taken us into his chambers, and here we are fellowshipping, talking about Jesus, making bread for our families.
Yes.
And isn't this wonderful? I mean, and we're tucked away from the world, and they're all stressed out and crabby and whatever else they're doing. Mm-hmm. And here we are glorifying the Lord. And it's so wonderful.
I just have to say, this may shock some people, but, I stopped going to church a few years ago because I realized that the church is very watered down. You get so much more out of being home and reading your Bible. The church doesn't even teach half of the things that the Bible tells you. I mean, ask half of the Christians, they don't even know what the Sabbath is. And it's like Genesis 2, or Genesis 1 is teaching you already about the Sabbath. This is a godly thing. And just how all of the patterns that the Levitical priests and the priests did, all of these things throughout the ages, these are patterns that are reflecting what happens in heaven. you're never going to hear, well, I don't want to say never, but you're really not going to hear that too much in the church. So what we're doing right now, this is the church. We are the church. Our bodies are the temples, and we are to be clean and to be to try to be holy. I mean, when God wants us to be holy, and I think there's such a bad connotation when I'm sure you've heard this like figure of speech, like, oh, you think you're holier than thou. What a mockery, because God does want us to be holy. He wants us to be clean from the inside out. And all of these, beautiful figures in the Bible, these men of God like Paul and Peter. I mean, Peter's the rock. He is the rock. He doesn't budge. He doesn't move. He says, God, I would never defile myself. This is how these men were. They were living clean from the inside out and just living their lives to, they really just left everything to glorify Yeshua, which that is how I address. I mean, Jesus, Yeshua, but we need to know what, hi, Lobo. We need to know what entity that we are, speaking to. And I just really believe that this name Jesus, this is the Latin, and this isn't his name. I really believe that it is
Greek. It's Greek. Jesus is Greek.
Well, okay. Oh, sorry. You're right. Jesus is Greek. The Latin, it's Jesus, and we all know who Zeus is. So when we're saying Jesus, who are we really? I
honestly think that Jesus really cares about that, seriously, because ultimately Yeshua HaMashiach, not everyone was born is an Israelite or speaking Hebrew. Don't you think a child's faith is important to our Lord? And to be perfectly honest, he knows who we're addressing, whether it's Yeshua HaMashiach, Abba, or Otac in Serbian, Russian, Polish, Otac is father. You think he's just going to ignore you because you're not using the specific Hebrew name because you weren't born Hebrew? I don't think so.
No, I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying that I like to Lobo, relax, buddy. I was just bringing something up that I've learned, and I get what you're saying. Yeah, not everyone has been born into knowing this name or brought up Hebrew, which I myself, like I just said, I grew up going to church and not knowing half the things that I know now, that I decided to really read the book more than, trusting our pastors. And that's all I was trying to say. I do think that God,
yeah, I totally agree with you on that score, because Jesus himself, Yeshua HaMashiach, said himself, he said, these people shut up the kingdom of the heavens. They don't go in and they won't let you in. The church is designed to keep you away from God, okay? The church, these buildings are going to keep you away. They give people titles when Jesus said, I am the only shepherd. They give people titles of elder, pastor, all this rubbish. This is not from God, okay? And they keep you away from ever getting to know and seek Jesus at his feet, because they try to get you to look to a man on a podium, a stage, because that's what they've made it. They've made it a stage, a theatre. This is not from God, yeah? But there's still genuine people in there whose hearts really love our Heavenly Father, okay? But yes, he will call us out from those places. I've never liked that sort of institution in my life. I really find it difficult, though God sent me there and I had to challenge them. It was not easy and I was hated, and I thought, yeah, praise God. And I have another sister, she has attended church. Her father's actually an elder in a different part of this country, but he's a lovely man. He's a lovely God-fearing man, and they have shown me a lot of God's quality of love, which I needed, okay? And I'm not going to throw them out of the bathwater because they attend a building. Because ultimately, we're all at different stages and walks. And the thing is, yes, I don't like the institution of the church at all. But it's not good. I'm not going to hate those people, because we're meant to even love our enemies. But we are meant to reach people wherever they are. Though I, like you, I find greater depths of the keys of the kingdom of spiritual gifts through my time and effort in loving our Heavenly Father with my whole mind and my whole heart and my whole body and my whole strength. And my home is a perpetual place. My temple, my body is a perpetual place for God's Spirit. You know, so I don't need to go to be confined to a building. God himself says, I do not dwell in handmade buildings. He dwells in our temples. We don't need to go. We can go and praise God in a field, you know.
You guys.
Yes.
We all are in different places, and the Lord does say for us to be into community, into the body of Christ, and that's what we're participating in. And we're having a lively discussion, but it's time to get back to our bread.
Yes.
Or we've got to focus in. Go to bread, young women. So, are you ready to divide yours in half?
I think so. Does that look?
That looks good. So why don't you divide it in half? And before I start my section, I want to help you with yours.
Can I just use I can just use a knife, right?
Yes, just a sharp knife.
Okay. In half it goes.
In half it goes. Did you start your pan of water back again? You need to boil it again.
Boil it again?
Yep. And put a cookie sheet on top.
Okay, a cookie sheet. I don't have a cookie sheet, but how about foil?
No, it has to be like, do you have something that you would cook a steak on or something?
I have my, what about like this?
I can't see it.
Oh, what happened?
No, it has to be something like a platter.
A platter. Oh, wait. Oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. That was so obnoxiously loud.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Like that?
That'll work.
That'll
Okay.
work. That'll work. You're going to have to do some fancy dancing, but it'll work.
Okay. This is so funny. I feel unprepared chef here, but that's okay.
That's okay. This is what this is about. We're learning, and this is what today is all about.
Yes.
Funny.
Now I know why half my bread loaves don't turn out right, because the yeast never rises. Okay.
So what you want to do is butter your frying pan and your loaf pan, and you butter it very well.
Okay.
And while Sarah's doing that, what I'm going to do is get my egg ready. So what I'm going to do is crack my egg into a measuring bowl, and I'm going to whisk it so that I make an egg bath. And you can use 2 eggs. You can use 1 egg. A lot of women, we each have our own style, and you can use the yolk and the white. A lot of women will only use the white. I personally, it gives the loaf a little bit more of a golden look, and so I like using the yolk. Plus, if I didn't have a dog, I don't want to waste anything. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to use the yolk and the white and just whisk it. Oh, I gotta get the... So on my pretty loaf, I'm going to use poppy seeds and sesame seeds. But like I mentioned, anybody that, if you're going to serve this to guests, and they're going to have a drug test. This will test positive for narcotics. I don't care what kind of poppy seeds, they all have a slight narcotic that a drug test would pick up. So don't serve it to anybody who's getting a blood test, like for their job or something like that. But are you going to get high on these? No, you're not going to get high on these. And if you have like a migraine, these are not going to help you. So, just to tell you the brutal truth.
We can use whatever seeds, right? Like if I have some anise and like chia seeds or pumpkin seed, like doesn't matter, right? It's just
right.
preference.
You can use flax seeds. We talked earlier. You can at this stage that you're at, we can add fruitcake mix. We can put oregano and sage in it if we want an Italian loaf. We can put caraway seeds in. You could put garlic, minced garlic, powdered garlic, whatever you like at this stage. You could put olives in. Some people put olives in. And
okay, I think this little guy here is buttered up.
Okay, so then you want to take one of your loaves, and I want you to put it in your loaf pan.
Okay.
So you kind of make it, shape it like a loaf.
Okay. So just put it in the loaf
like a
pan.
rectangle. You want to make it kind of rectangle-ish.
Okay. Push it down into the. I don't know if I'm doing this right, but I'm pushing it down so it takes the.
Can you put your computer so I can see? No, you don't want to push it, squish it down. You want to kind of squish it up. So here, I'll show you. So here's what mine looks like now.
Okay. Okay.
So you kind of want to make it tubular.
Let me see if I can.
So I would take that out and re-roll it for just a minute.
Okay.
And while Sarah's doing that, what I'm going to do is egg bath mine. So let's see if I can. What was that? Oh, that was my vitamin C dish. Ah! I have no idea what
just
that
ordered
is.
vitamin C, like powdered vitamin C, or.
Actually, I'm going to take this over to the table because I don't think anybody can see over here. And let's see, get this down. Okay. So what you can use a paintbrush. I use a paintbrush, but you could use a toothbrush. You could use your fingers if you wanted to. You want to get the egg on the brush, and then lightly, because your bread is risen, so you don't want to press hard, and you just go over and you paint your bread, making sure that you get all surfaces. And then if you have a dog or a cat and you have some left over, then they can have some. So then next, what I'm going to do is, tell me when you're ready.
Okay, I don't know what's going on here, but so okay, after I knead it, then
just give me half a second. I'll be with you.
Yeah.
I'm gotta do this.
It looks beautiful. It looks amazing.
So there you go. This is what my bread is, the pretty loaf. And then I'm afraid I have to go check my dog. I got to put my bread in the oven, and then I got to check Zippy because she's barking, and she only barks if there's trouble. So I'm hoping. So what I'm doing right now is putting my loaves in. Can you see that? There it is. They're all in there now. And I'm going to cook those at 350 for 30 minutes. And I'll be right with you, Sarah. I just want to check Miss Zippy here. Now, Sarah, what I want you to do is to take that other loaf. Oh, okay. Put the one into the loaf pan.
This one?
Yeah, make it tubular. Make it like you pretend like you're putting it in a tube.
Okay.
So you kind of want to make it look like a snake, kind of, but.
Okay, I'm trying to get my phone to stay up here. Oops. Well. Okay. So make it tubular?
Yep. Okay, kind of even. So you've got a big hump. So you want to kind of make it even. Yeah, that's it. You're doing great. Absolutely fabulous. Okay, now put it in your loaf pan. Put it in your pan.
Okay. It's a little long for me.
Okay. Yeah, just push it
All right.
up. And then kind of even it out so that one end isn't, kind of make it even. Don't push it down. Don't push it down. You don't want to push down.
Just pinch it or?
Yeah, pitching it is good.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So you just set that one aside.
Like that?
More round. You want it like a tube.
Roll it.
And I know what you're saying. It's just hard to get it to be tubular. And
that's why if you roll it on your counter, it will turn tubular. That's it.
Yeah, are you going to plait it as well, Sarah?
Do what?
You can plait it. Are you going to plait it?
A platter? Oh, a plate?
Plait it. Like a hair plait. So it looks, you split it into three, and then plait it together.
Oh no, we're going to do that next.
Okay, cool.
Ariana will do that next. But she's getting the hang of it. We start with the basics first. Just roll it. You don't have to pinch it. Now roll it with your hand. There you go. Like that. That's perfect. Perfect. That's it.
I'm blonde, you guys. Give me a break.
That's it. Okay, now you've got it. Now put it in. Now put it in your pan and squish it at the ends. There you go. Perfect. Now just set that aside.
Okay.
All right. All right. Okay, so now we're going on and we're going to get a little more advanced. So what I want you to do is I want you to take this loaf and I want you to cut it lengthwise into 3.
Okay. So like 1.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe the one on the end, the flat, large end, make that a little thinner. Because you're going to want each of these, no, not that side, the other side.
This one?
Yeah, make that a little thinner than what you've got. Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
And then this guy, probably there.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, now I want you to take 2 pieces out of the way. 2 pieces out of the way.
We'll start with this guy.
Right. And I want you to roll out a long snake, maybe 3 times the size of what you've got.
Okay.
With your palms of your hands. No squishing. No squishing loud.
Nice. So like.
Yeah, like that. Perfect. Perfect. Roll it. You can just keep rolling it.
If it's like kind of dry, if I put a little water, no water.
No water at this point.
Yeah, right.
It's been a while since I've played with Play-Doh.
Yep, but this, you know what? If you make bread, you can do this every week. It's so much fun. I love it.
Yeah. This is great.
Push it down with the palms of your hands to make it longer. You want it longer. So you're kind of making it longer as you roll.
Oh, I see. Okay. There's an art to this.
Yes, there is.
There we go. Okay. Do you have kids, Celeste?
I have 2 daughters and 8 grandchildren, but they don't have anything to do with me.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, can you adopt us as your children, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. Like I'm your be a spiritual mama.
Child. Okay.
We've assigned you as our spiritual mama, okay, Celeste?
just mama is fine, you know.
Okay.
Okay, now get the other, you're the eldest. You know, the eldest, I'm the oldest too, and it has its disadvantages, you know, Judith. Okay, now do the other 2. They don't have to be perfect.
Length?
What? Yeah,
they need to be the same length?
Yes, they should be the same length. So put that someplace else to get it out of the way. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, unless you want it perfect. Like I said, I'm doing mine for the chickens, so they don't care perfect.
You're doing yours for the chickens?
Yep, I'm making fresh bread for my chickens.
Wow.
I tell you what, they're very blessed chickens. I want to be your chicken, please. Can I be the breed of your chickens? Because I want your challah bread.
Do you have any goats, Celeste?
I used to have like 15 goats, but I couldn't find anybody to help me repair the barn, so I had to give them away, and it broke my heart.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a real change in lifestyle when David died. But, you know, we have different seasons in our life, and so we just keep on.
Yeah. Makes you stronger in a way, gives you perspective.
Yeah, and I'm not ruling out that the Lord might not restore the goats at some other point. You know, maybe it was just for this season.
Right. Oh, I would love to have goats and chickens, and would just love to have all of that and make some.
Yeah, I'd love to live on a farm as well. It'd be amazing. Hard work, though. Very hard work.
It's not hard. You know, people think it's hard, but I found it very easy, and I miss it so bad. Like, I make my own kefir and my own cheese and my own sauerkraut, everything. And I had milk on tap. I didn't have to ever go to the store.
Oh, man.
Now it's...
my relatives in Yugoslavia, they were self-sustaining and had their own farms and would do exactly that, make their own cheese, you know, smoke their own meat and everything. And they were very, very poor, though, very poor. But they had a sense of community and love amongst the people, and it was lovely. It was a very nice way to, as a young child, to see a different perspective of life. And it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about appreciation. I mean, they didn't even have an inside toilet. They had like a little shed with a hole That's it.
Yeah.
That's what they had. And it was just eye-opening. It was wonderful to see, actually, and I liked it. And I thought, I wish I could live like this. You know.
So, Judith, the taste of the goat depends a lot on the breed. It also depends if the goat is near a buck, and it depends on the age. It also depends if it was killed humanely, because if somebody, like if the goat knew it was being done in, and it got that adrenaline burst, it would taint the taste of the meat. But goat meat is actually very good if it's done right, and if there's certain conditions, you just have to know what those are. And so it also affects the milk. There can be very bitter milk, or there can be very sweet milk.
You would only know, though, if it was goat.
So are you ready?
Yes, I just want to share something. You mentioned the adrenaline.
Yes.
So like when it's such a crazy thing, like if the cat kills a bird, the cat will play with the bird until the adrenaline has gone through its liver before it eats it, because then otherwise the bird is poisonous. I mean, just amazing, how all God's creatures are made so perfectly and intelligent enough for their own needs. So anyway, let me try to roll this guy out a little more. It's like it's not, it's just sliding on the countertop, but I'm making it work.
Yeah, because that's why in Leviticus they were given laws about how to cull the meat, weren't they? And they were meant to pray over the animal before they slaughtered it, to properly, like you said, to make sure that they weren't in a state of complete terror, because
Right.
that will affect the taste of the meat, won't it? So they were given strict instructions by Heavenly Father as how to proceed in slaughtering the animals, and bleeding them and everything.
Okay, Ariana, I need to instruct Sarah. So,
Okay.
Sarah, are you
Yes.
ready? Okay,
Yes.
So what you want to do is take the far end, the one that's near your loaf pan, and I want you to kind of pinch that end, up there. And I want you to pinch all three sides together, kind of.
Okay.
Okay. And then I want you to braid it, just like you were braiding your hair or a little girl's hair or something like
Okay.
that. I just now, okay, that's enough. Now you just braid it.
Okay. I'm gonna just
braid it like you were braiding hair.
plop that thing there. Okay. Oh, and my pieces are not sticking.
It's fine. I usually tuck mine in at the end, so if it comes apart, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
And you want to kind of do a tight weave if you can. A tight weave is better, so more of the knotting,
Try to put this knife on top so it holds those down. Okay.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
I appreciate the encouragement, because I don't know actually how this looks.
It's looking good, Judith. It's looking good. I mean, Sarah.
Okay. It looks more like a
puzzle.
Okay, so I want you to pinch each end. It's fine. So kind of the part that's sticking out at the end, I want you to tuck under, fold under the loaf. Oh, did we lose her?
Oh.
Oh no, she's gone.
Maybe her internet connection's gone or something.
She probably just hit a button wrong. I've done that like 10 times in this whole thing. It's easy to, like right now, my computer keeps wanting to go to the Microsoft store. It wants me to buy something. Like, what's that all about? I wasn't even touching the computer. And sometimes, you know, they have those updates that they don't give you any warning, and all of a sudden your computer goes off and there's not a thing you can do, or your phone.
She was on an iPhone.
Yeah, but it happens with phones too. Well, I've got 14 minutes.
Sarah.
So we'll just visit for like 14 minutes, and then you'll see the bread, and hopefully Sarah will reconnect. And
I'll send you a picture of mine on, if I can, probably via email on Sunday. Is that okay?
That would be wonderful. I would love it.
Good.
That's what we should all do, is take a picture of our bread. If you make bread or challah this week, we should all post them on Patreon. And actually, what we could do is we could, not this time, but when we're a little more proficient, what we could do is have a bake-off like they do at the county fair, and we can let the patrons vote on their favorite.
Brilliant idea, but the Patreon won't let you post pictures. I tried, it won't let you.
Yeah, but I can post them. So if you send them to me, and then I can put your name and post them.
Awesome.
Or we don't really have to do bread. We could do a dessert, or we could do something, you know. But we could have a bake-off, and whoever wins, whoever gets the most votes, then
Can I post my lamb? Can I post my lamb meal that I'm going to have?
You could do your lamb meal.
Yeah, I'm going to do the bread on Sunday though, and then when I do the lamb meal, that's towards Peshach, I shall post that as well.
Because that would be kind of fun to have a virtual bake-off, and I will send a bar of soap to somebody, or a gift to somebody that wins. And that might encourage more people to participate, you know. Let them get brave.
Yeah, I can't get any gifts from you though, because they've stopped the shipping, international shipping now.
Yes, but I can send you virtual gifts.
Oh man.
Yep. So you can win. Do we have Sarah back?
Oh.
You know what? Maybe her battery died.
Oh.
Let me check my email just to make sure she's not SOSing or something.
Does Doug have her phone number?
No.
Oh.
Nope.
Shoot.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
I was looking forward to her bread too.
Well, I will send her a message and ask her to take a picture, that we're all going to take pictures of our bread. And now I can't get back. Oy, 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 oy. Come on. I get out and then it doesn't let me get back in. It's just the pits. Return the meeting. All right. Start the video. Wasn't I? I hope I was videoing. I hope I. I'm not sure I was videoing it. Oh, well. We're having our issues today, technological issues. So does anybody see me?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, we see you. I see you.
Okay, because I can't see me. Usually I can see me, but Doug, are you there? Are you there, Doug? Help! SOS! Help! Oh, well. I guess I don't need to see me.
Oh, what a shame. I hope Sarah comes back because I'd like to see how her bread turns out.
I know, that's the hard part about this whole thing. Oh, there I am. So 9 minutes. And the house is starting to fill with the aroma of fresh bread.
Chicken bread, for crying out loud. Unbelievable.
Here, see, I even have my chicken towels.
Oh,
I'm
cute.
dressed for success here in the kitchen. Oh, it smells so good. This is dangerous. Oh.
Yeah.
Nothing more dangerous than making bread on a ketogenic diet.
I can't do. I have to stay just short of keto because I start getting anxious.
Oh. Hold on. I don't know if can anybody hear?
Yep.
Okay. This is just a technologically weird day. That's all I can say. I'm going to put this over here. Put my rings back on because then I might lose them otherwise. Oh, that's right. I was going to give this to Zippy when she comes in.
How is Miss Zippy now? Is she okay?
She's getting better. She has a ways to go. The inflammation is gone. Her ears are not swollen. They're not red, but she's itching like crazy. So she's still scratching them, so they're still bothering her. The vet called while we were making bread, and I can wash the guck, whatever they put in her ears, off the outside, not the inside. And if she's not better in a week, then we have to go to Plan B, whatever Plan B is. I don't know what that is.
Is she okay in herself, though?
What?
Is she okay in herself? Is she okay in herself, her disposition, her character?
Yesterday when I filmed, what was I filming? Oh, I was filming my show. I had a guest. And she just laid down next to me, which is not like her. Usually I have to put her outside because she is hyper and all over the place. So I am noticing that she's more lethargic, but that means that the antibiotics are and the antifungal is working and her body is fighting the bugs. So
I find taking antibiotics makes me very sleepy and tired as well. So.
Well, this is kind of strange. She's not taking antibiotics. They put antibiotics that last 2 weeks in her ear. So, we got there's Sarah. She's coming back. Yay!
Hallelujah. Welcome back, Sarah. Thank you. Praise God.
But we can't hear you. No sound.
Oh, okay. Hi, here I am.
Okay. Hi.
So the phone had died. It's on a charger, so I don't know if I can prop it up, but okay. we have the braid.
Okay, so what I want you to do is make a circle and wrap it, make a circle, and in your pan, your fry pan that you have, butter. And that's going to be a pretty loaf. That's typically what we do in the fall for the fall feasts. We do a round one, but also at Shavuot. So this will be just practice for you.
Yes. Okay, so I'm just gonna make it go around, and I'll show you in just a second.
Like peasant bread.
Okay, so that's how it looks. Not bad.
Okay, so that's going to be really nice. You might want to squeeze this end down here, not there, right there, yes.
This one?
No, the next one over. Yes, just squeeze a little bit together, not at the top, but just pinch it at the bottom of the pan. Okay, now what I want you to do is to cover that, cover both pans, and if you can put them over your hot water, that would be the best. But if you can't, then and then cover them, and that they will be rising for 1 hour. And then cover your pan with a towel or a pillowcase or something like that.
Voila.
There you go. And then set the timer for, I would set the timer for 45 minutes, and then you will turn your oven on to 350, and then you'll let it rise for another 15 minutes after that while your oven's heating up, and then it will be all ready to go.
Okay, so timer for 40 minutes, you said?
45. Because you let this rise for 1 hour.
Okay, so timer's on for 45 minutes. Wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? You said set the timer, let it rise on the heat for 45 minutes and then take it off for the last 15?
No, you leave it there, but you turn your oven on and then set the timer for another 15 minutes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I need to write this stuff down here.
I'm going to put the recipe under the ingredients sometime today. So
thank you.
Then you can print it out and use it at your convenience and alter it as you wish.
Okay. Oh, should I have added, when do we add the seeds and the butter?
So after this rises, just before you put it in the oven, you would whisk up 1 egg and you brush it with a paintbrush or whatever kind of brush you have. Mm-hmm. You can use your fingers if you have to, and get all the surfaces of the bread, and then while it's wet, you add whatever seeds you want on top, and then it makes a shiny bread, and then it also keep the egg holds the seeds onto the bread.
Okay, sounds great.
I know, right?
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited to when this is done, to eat it with some honey and some butter. And what are you guys gonna make to go with your challah bread?
So Zippy and I already had dinner. I had a kale salad and meatloaf, and so that's what I had. And mine's going to the chickens anyway. So.
Unbelievable.
Guess what? It's time, you guys. It's time. Here we go. Let's see. Get this down here. Let me get I know I don't even have a you know, a mitt, so I just use a washcloth. Okay. Yowzers, Celeste. Okay, so here's loaf number 1, and I just do that.
Onions.
On my stove. Here's loaf number 2. And then I put them up like this.
Chickens.
And then loaf number 3. But the hard one to give to the chickens will be the pretty loaf. I might have to eat this loaf. Look at this. You guys can hold on. Let me get back over here and I will carry it over. Because it's so pretty. Pretty, pretty, pretty.
For the chickens.
Yeah, I'm thinking I might have to eat this one.
Hello.
Because what I have, and I've talked about it, but I don't know if any of you have done it, but hold on.
Celeste is making her bread for the chickens. Ah.
So I have this is rose infused honey. I have lilac infused honey.
Wow.
I have all this honey, so I might have to just have a piece of bread with honey.
Yes. Go.
There goes the diet.
Oh, well.
Enjoy it, Sister Celeste. Enjoy eating it. Praise God for it. Thank Him. Sure, it'll be delicious.
So the blessing that I say over my bread is Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotze lehem min haaretz. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth.
Can you
Very
please
good.
write that down for us?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-oh. What did I do? Oh, I took my glasses off because you can't take stuff out of the oven with glasses on because it steams up. So, Sarah, we're deciding that we're going to do a virtual bake-off. And it doesn't have to be bread. It could be our favorite dish. And we're going to, you send picture to me, and we'll do this probably in a couple weeks. And then we're going to let the patrons vote on it. And whoever gets the prize, I'll send them a gift. And this is good for international guests also. So I'll send them a virtual gift because postage right now is difficult. So we're going to have this shelter-in-place virtual bake-off.
Oh, wow. We have to decide what's our favorite dish. That's going to be the hard part.
Yeah, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Oh, yeah. What's my favorite dish?
Well, the thing is, if it carries on for weeks, you can do loads of your favourite dishes then, can't you? It doesn't just have to be one. You can do one week of your favourite dish and then another week of your another favourite dish.
And if it was possible, I wish I could get my cookbook done, but I didn't bank on coronavirus and, you know, all this craziness in the world. I mean, this all happened very fast, this global governance thing. I mean, literally,
agree with you.
when I walk into the grocery, it looks like a third world country now. I mean, it doesn't even, and the whole feel of the country is like third world country, not America. So it's really this strange time we're living in.
I think it caught us all by surprise how quickly the events escalated. But what I find interesting is Jesus said that he would return like a thief. So can you imagine if this took us unawares, those who are not looking for the return of our Lord, they're going to be also taken incredibly unawares, aren't they, and surprised? So it actually helps cement that idea into our heads as his God-fearing servants, how we need to be keeping watch for his return, you know?
Yeah, we want to be those maidens with the lamp oil in our lamps.
Amen. The thing is, I always knew things would go pear-shaped, but I didn't realise how quickly, and I didn't know. I knew this year was going to be bad, but I don't think I could have ever written down what would happen, the events taking place exactly. But I knew this year was going to be bad. I knew that.
So every year in about the 1st of December, the Holy Spirit tells me what the next year is going to be. And last year was fire and ice, and this year it was upheaval. Well, yeah, it's upheaval, all right. Yeah. I kind of expected earthquakes, lots of volcano, although Chevaluche has just done a stratospheric injection, which is going to cool the planet, which means growing is going to be really hard as it's snowing outside. And
I knew that this year it would impact the economy. I knew that, and I said that to my friends. I said, this year, I bet there'll be an economic collapse. That's what I said, because it's ripe for it. I mean, it's failed years and years ago, but I just thought this year is going to be impactful in that department financially. And the thing is, it's straining the economy now, because so many thousands of people have lost their jobs, especially here in the UK, and they're all claiming universal credit now or benefits. That you can't sustain that if people aren't working. It's just impossible, you know. It's just crazy. So it's going to implode. It's going to collapse.
Well, things were heading south, and they needed to cover because there was going to be massive food shortages just because of all the weather disasters and different things.
Yeah. But you know, you said about the cold front coming. I need to ask you, because obviously you live on the other side of the world, because on the different part of the equator. So where I am, will it get even colder here then, in the winters especially, or just anyway? Because last year I felt, even though it was hot, in the early hours of the morning, it felt I could feel this freezing cold. It was weird.
Yeah, it's really going to just continue getting colder. You're lucky where you are, or blessed, because you've got the moderating factor of the ocean. I don't have that here because I'm inland. Of course, being on the coast has its issues too, but...
So we're going to, so basically, because you know at Noah's time, because Jesus said something very significant, he said that these days would be just as the days of Noah. So before the cataclysmic flood, there was obviously a change in the magnetic pole shift to create the massive flood as well. So obviously, are we going to go back to a literal ice age, do you think?
That's what it's heading to, yeah.
So how are we going to survive if
we're not going to be here? This is the events of Revelation will, you know, God is sovereign and he's in control of the weather. And so, yes, it's heading in that direction. And really, if you examine, this is what part of my Branson thing is on, if you examine most cultures and most religions, believe that this is the last cycle. There's a few new age people that believe that there's going to be an age of enlightenment after this. But for the most part,
The Bhagavad Gita talks about the Kalyug and the Satyug, and they believe we're in that in the bad realm now. But like they also believe we're going to go into an enlightenment realm or peace or something weird like that as well.
Well, during the millennial reign, it's of course going to be, because it's going to be Jesus on the throne.
Yeah, true. That's a good point, actually. Yeah, that's true.
Yes, Judith? I see your name, but I don't...
Sorry, can I ask you another question, Mama? Can I ask you another question, please? So we'll have our heads chopped off and stuff. So how long will people still be here on Earth before Jesus returns, do you think?
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
So, because a lot of us we're not going to take the mark, we're going to be martyred for it. So I'm wondering, how long will God allow the systems? So 3.5 years from the Antichrist appearing?
I don't think anybody knows that. There's lots of speculation on that.
Okay.
Oh, you just, Judith, your thing just popped up like you wanted to say something. So I don't know. Do we want to just stay visiting and wait and see how Sarah's bred, or do we want to call it a day, or what's the...
Well, what do you want to do, Sister Celeste? You've already given us so much of your time. We want to consider your needs, really.
My only concern is the Zoom. I don't know if I'm only allotted so much. Don't forget, everybody's Zooming right now because it's the only way they can keep in contact with one another. And I don't know if by us hanging out all day interferes with other people. And I want to be considerate, but I just don't know. I wish Doug was on here.
Oh, bless you. Of course. Well, I don't mind, but there are other things. There's like Skype and Wire.com that people use as well, but it's using the broadband width as well anyway. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to go. I don't have a problem. I've got things to do anyway. So.
What about you, Sarah? Sarah? I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I had it. Good thing it was muted. I just had to shut the door because there was a leaf blower blowing outside. So, yeah, I need to do a million things, actually. I've got to go to the bank. I have to clean up. I'm moving next week. Yay. During this time.
Oh, bless you.
But anyway, so yeah, I've got to clean. I've got to get my soup started that's my dinner. I just make a huge vegetable soup. I will take pictures of my bread and show you, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can definitely just, get off, and then, I mean, I'll probably have to get off here anyway. But I did want to say, just quickly that, ever since your medical martial law video, Celeste, ever since then, to me, the world hasn't felt the same. It just hasn't. No matter how, going to work or going to the store. I mean, even before the 13th of March, because that video came out, I think, in February. But ever since that video, that was a big wake-up call for me. And praise God, I went and got water and rice and toilet paper before everyone went and smashed the markets. And I told people, and they just, didn't think anything of it. When I was stocking up at the markets, people just looked at me like I was crazy, and here we are. So anyway, just thank you for, the Holy Spirit guiding me to that video to watch, and for you to have put that information out there. So anyway, we're here in the last days, and we just got to have no fear. And no fear. I mean, from the beginning of the Word of God till the end, he says, fear not, which doesn't mean that scary things aren't going to happen and that we're not going to suffer. We're going to suffer. It's going to be crazy, but those who endureth until the end will be saved. So I just wanted to share that.
Amen. And thank you for your presence, Sarah, and thank you for cooking and making your bread. It's nice watching you, and thank you so much. I will post my picture to Celeste on Sunday, and I'm sure she'll share it, as I look forward to seeing your
Yes.
and bread as well. But thank you for your time and your presence and your sisterly love. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So one thing it's kind of a hard thing to leave, but since it's a small group, and if we're all sheltering in place, if you have not watched the movie Sophie Scholl, that's SOPHIESCHOLL, also could be The White Rose, I would highly suggest that you watch it. It was about a college-age student during World War II that opposed Hitler and was caught. And it is a very sobering of just how fast things can go and
So
the
what's it called again, so I can write it down?
Sophie Scholl, SOPHIE, and then SCHOLL. It is
Scholl, yeah.
Scholl. It's German with American English subtitles, but you can follow it very easy. But you need to watch that because this is.
Is that available on YouTube?
I think it is.
I will have a look anyway.
I think it is available on YouTube. Yep. Every Christian should watch it.
So what was she Jewish or was she Christian?
Thank you.
She was a Christian.
Oh, bless. And so can you give us a synopsis?
No.
Just go watch it.
You need to watch it. We got plenty of time. We're all sheltering in place. So
I will, yeah. Thank you.
So anyway, God bless you. Thank you for coming to the bread making class. Next week, we will be making barbecue sauce, and I will put the ingredients up probably sometime this weekend so that you can go grab what you need if you want to do it real time with me. And then I will be canning mine. So you don't need to make as much as I do, but I like to make it for a whole year, and I love my barbecue sauce. So that's great, Judith. It will be great to have your camera and have you join in with FaceTime. Yeah. And so God bless you all. Once again, thank you for attending. If you have any other questions, Sarah, you mix up your egg and then, wipe it. I just
paint it,
brush it, and then put your seeds on it. So I just
and 30 minutes, 350.
Yep. That's it.
30 minutes at 350. Okay, great.
That's it.
God bless you. Thank you so much. This has been so fun. I love this. So same time next week? I guess, I don't know. Let me know.
Let me figure it out. Fridays are usually my getting ready for the Sabbath day, so I gave up my vacuuming and mopping the floors and dusting and all that fun stuff. But this is important. So
agreed. Yeah, any day. Doesn't have to be Friday. Yeah. Well, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, and we will see you all next time. I feel like saying on the Celestial Report. I'm not in that dimension right now. Okay, we'll see you later.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Have a blessed weekend, you guys.
You
Bless
too.
you guys. Bless you, Celeste. Thanks again.